Guys, it's finally happening. Paparazzi is on its way down to hell where it belongs. I'm very sick, if you couldn't tell by my voice, but this can't wait any longer. I can't put this off anymore. There have been some incredible new developments in the world of paparazzi, and I'm finally here to bring you all of the tea. To summarize, the Washington State Attorney General pulled a LuLaRoe on them, if you know what I mean. We'll get into all of it specifically, but they basically said, you gotta do all these things, or else you can't operate in the state of Washington. And paparazzi's like, alright, we're not gonna do any of that. So now they can't operate in the state of Washington anymore. There has been a lot of misinformation being spread. Distributors have been blindsided. The CEO is doing major damage control, and they're sending out cease and desist letters. Wow, what a shock. We're gonna go through all of it. Here's a disclaimer real quick to let you know that I'm not trying to defame paparazzi or any of its consultants. I'm not trying to spread misinformation. I am not a lawyer, so I admit that maybe some of this lawyer speak has gone over my head. I'm going to try my best to get all this information out to you as a layman with all these terms, but this is just based on my own personal understanding. All of the documentation that you need is going to be linked in the description below. You can absolutely read it all for yourself if you need further clarification. We're going to get into all of that, but before we do, I just have to thank the sponsor of today's video, Factor. Factor is a meal subscription service that makes meeting your nutrition goals easier than ever by delivering fresh, never frozen, dietitian approved meals right to your doorstep. And these meals are ready to eat in as little as 2 minutes, so you spend less time meal planning, grocery shopping, ingredient prepping, and cooking. This is huge for me as a stay-at-home mom to 2 kids, because trying to grocery shop with 2 kids is something that I try to avoid at pretty much all costs in my life. So Factor eliminates the need to drag children to a grocery store. Also, it's just really nice to have chef-crafted meals made with premium ingredients just ready to go in my fridge whenever I'm hungry. And they have a meal plan for everyone. Their weekly menu has 35 options, and some of those options include the ever popular Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, Vegan, and Veggie. They also offer 60 add-ons every single week, like smoothies, breakfast, lunch on the go options, small bites, and beverages. And this time around, they sent me some of their juices, which these taste like they came straight out of your own juicer at home. You can drink them without worrying about the grueling task of cleaning a juicer. And I should know because I used to be a juicing girly. So trust me when I say it's kind of a big deal that Factor also eliminates the need to clean a juicer. As far as the recipes go, I've come to love a lot of the things that Factor has sent me. This time, I really enjoyed this green goddess chicken with green beans, and I know, when you think of pre-cooked chicken breast, you'd probably expect it to be dry and bland, but I'm telling you, I don't know how they do it, but this particular meal has juicy, tender, and unbelievably delicious and flavorful chicken. Paired with this green goddess sauce, it's amazing. 10 out of 10 meal. I highly recommend it. If you're ready to try Factor today, head to factor75.com, or you can click the link below in the description and use the code 50 Savannah Marie to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. That's code 50 Savannah Marie at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. I think you'll love Factor. It's so convenient and it's yummy and wonderful, and I really hope you try it out. So thank you, Factor, for sponsoring today's video. Now it's time for my sick butt to tell you about what's going on with paparazzi. Yeah, holy crap, you guys. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably know all of the crap I've been putting up with in the past almost 3 weeks now. First, I had a sinus infection. Then my daughter had pink eye 2 weeks ago. And then my son got pink eye. And then I got pink eye. And today is the first day that my eyes look mostly back to normal. They're still a little red in the corners, so I'm not dying if you're noticing that, but they actually looked really good today, and I was able to put eye makeup on, so like, this is a win. I really do think that the universe really wanted me to talk about paparazzi today and not wait another second. But also, then my sinus infection came back, and then as of yesterday, we found out that my husband has epiglottitis, so whatever he's got is doing something to me also, so that's why my voice sounds like crap. It's just been weeks of terribleness in my house, so I'm sorry that you have to listen to me this whole time sounding like this, but it's what we gotta do, and it's gonna suck. I'm gonna probably lose my voice for the next 3 days after this, but you know what? It's worth it because paparazzi is crumbling. And if you've been here for a long time, you know that I have covered this company probably more than anyone else on this goddamn platform. It all started about 5 years ago when I did my first deep dive on Paparazzi. I was still very new to the world of anti-MLM. I had a lot of their distributors come at me, threatening to sue me, trying to get my content taken down, mass reporting my content that has to do with paparazzi. Like, it was just a whole thing. So I pretty much declared war on the company, partnered up with some great people and some not so great people. I learned a lot of lessons during that time in my life where I was covering this stuff, but I am still in contact with the wonderful Tracy Reed, her daughter Caroline Reed, and my friends Andrew and Will, who were very closely involved with some paparazzi shenanigans. So they have been keeping me in the loop for a hot minute. But you know, there's been a bit of a lull. Things were going crazy for a while. You know, Paparazzi had a convention that happened in the summer of 2020, which was during the first giant COVID boom before there were any vaccinations. It's estimated that upwards of 20 people died from getting COVID at that convention. Paparazzi was found to contain lead, nickel, and other compounds based on third-party testing. There were class action lawsuits that came out of that whole situation. Yeah, things just kind of started quieting down after that. Once paparazzi was really in the spotlight and a lot of people were looking at it through a magnifying glass, they kind of slowed down and there really wasn't much to talk about until now. Oh, hey, also, if you could do me a favor, if you think you're subscribed to this channel, please just double check and make sure you are, because sometimes YouTube unsubscribes people from me. I'm coming up on 100,000, okay? And I would love to make it there soon. So if you feel it in your heart and you appreciate this kind of content, please hit the subscribe button and let's get my sorry little butt up to 100,000 subscribers. That would mean the world to me. Thank you. Also, by liking this video and commenting on it and stuff helps the algorithm pick it up and send it out to more people. So thank you for doing that. So how did this all start? Well, on Friday, February 28th, the paparazzi consultants that reside within the state of Washington in the United States of America were blindsided when this email found its way into their inbox. The email said, "Dear Washington paparazzi consultant, given market forces and changing business conditions, we have been considering the future of our Washington state consultant opportunity. We have determined that the best way forward is to stop offering our consultant opportunity in the state of Washington. What does this mean for you? You will no longer be a paparazzi consultant on March 31st, 2025. You will qualify for any accrued March 2025 commissions earned between March 1st and March 31st, 2025, which will be paid out as per policies and procedures no later than April 20th, 2025. After cancellation, Washington residents may purchase accessories as customers from other paparazzi consultants at retail prices, but may not enroll as consultants. Once your account is canceled, you can no longer represent paparazzi as a consultant, but you can offer for sale your existing inventory and keep the proceeds from the sale. Any Washington consultant who has remained in good standing with paparazzi and moves to another state may re-enroll without waiting as normally required by Section 11.5 of paparazzi policies. Washington consultants are encouraged to get any information they need from their back office because on March 31st, 2025, access to accounts will end." And then the screenshot that was posted on Reddit, it goes into the Washington inventory buyback. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But yeah, just out of the blue, surprise, we're canceling your business. Very interesting that all of these people are like, this is my $5 bling biz. This is my business. I'm the CEO of my own business. And it's like, bitch, no, you're not. If you're a business owner, then how did you just get fired, essentially, or laid off, I guess, in a way? That doesn't happen when you are your own business owner. Now, this whole situation actually happened to LuLaRoe, which is, if you didn't know, a huge multi-level marketing company that sells leggings. There's an entire documentary on it. I don't remember if it's on Amazon Prime or like HBO Max or something. It's called LuLaRich. Okay, I think it's on Amazon Prime, so you can go watch it. But basically, same thing. The Washington State Attorney General investigated LuLaRoe and basically found that they were what they had considered to be under their own state laws to be a schmieramid schmeme. So what LuLaRoe decided to do was overhaul their entire compensation plan and change everything so that they would be able to continue to operate in the state of Washington as LuLaRoe. but that did require that they change, so much. They lost a lot of distributors, because the interesting thing is, I've been saying this for years. I have been comparing Paparazzi's compensation plan specifically to LuLaRoe. I mean, you can sit there and say that, oh, all MLMs are generally the same, like they operate in similar ways, but Paparazzi has always been one of those companies that I'm like, man, if they got LuLaRoe to change all that stuff, Paparazzi will be next, because their business model is basically exactly the same. So here's what LuLaRoe used to do before they had their stuff with Washington in, I believe it was 2021 when all this went down. LuLaRoe pretty much had the business model where if you're a consultant, you get recruited by someone, obviously. If you buy a big old order of leggings to go on Facebook Live and sell, your upline immediately gets paid for the inventory you bought, regardless of if you sell it or not. Now, I haven't really looked deep into LuLaRoe's compensation plan since they changed it, since their stuff with the Washington State Attorney General, but I do believe they changed it in the way that uplines are only getting paid when leggings are sold. But up until they got in trouble with Washington, they were just like, yeah, we don't care if you actually sell these leggings or not. We just care that you're buying them. Then they would pay out the compensation to the uplines and the leaders and stuff that way. And wouldn't you know it, that's exactly how Paparazzi operates. I don't think anything has really changed over the past few years since I kind of slowed down on my Paparazzi coverage, but pretty sure it's still the same. If you're an upline and you have a big downline of people underneath you who are buying inventory to go onto Facebook Live and TikTok and whatever to sell, the company pays out commissions and bonuses to your upline when you buy the inventory. It does not matter if you then go on Facebook Live and you try to sell your little heart out and you only sell 5 out of 200 pieces. They don't care that most of the stuff you bought as inventory doesn't actually sell. Their uplines already got paid. Paparazzi already got paid. They don't really care, in my opinion. I think that's really how it works and how it still works. And that's how it was in LuLaRoe. And Washington said, no, LuLaRoe, you can't do that. So now they decided to investigate Paparazzi in the same exact way. However, the difference is that, LuLaRoe was told that they have to pay $4.75 million in a settlement with the Washington State Attorney General, which I do believe they then took that settlement and sent out checks to Washington residents who were LuLaRoe consultants as compensation, I guess. So LuLaRoe, after this happened, they took those allegations seriously and they went and they revamped everything about their business model just so that they could continue to operate in the state of Washington. And to my knowledge, I believe they still do. Paparazzi, on the other hand, refused. They are not changing really anything. I mean, they have put out a new income disclosure statement, which is hilarious, and we're going to look at it, of course. They have complied with, some of the stuff that the resolution says they have to do, such as creating an inventory buyback situation for Washington residents. But ultimately, it doesn't seem like they're changing their compensation plan, their compensation model. They're not really changing anything that they don't have to. And instead, they're taking the L with Washington and saying, well, you know what? It's too hard to change all this. We don't want to do all that effort. And Paparazzi knows, the same thing that happened to LuLaRoe would happen to them. LuLaRoe lost a lot of its consultant base, and by extension, they lost a lot of revenue. And Paparazzi was like, well, we can get rid of our operations in 1 out of the 50 states and still continue to operate this way. So no, we're just going to cancel the opportunity in Washington entirely. And we're going to go through this resolution that Washington said that they had to do, just so that you can see what Washington was demanding of Paparazzi. And Paparazzi was like, we're not going to do that. That's too much. We can't do that. So first of all, March 4th, 2025, the Washington Attorney General put out this statement for immediate release. It says, Utah-based jewelry company Paparazzi will pay $1.9 million and reform its business practices in Washington state following an Attorney General's office investigation into the company's alleged pyramid scheme. Attorney General Nick Brown will send 7,100 Washingtonians, oh my god, I've never had to say that word out loud. Anyway, Washingtonians who sold jewelry for the company checks of an average of $180 in the near future. Guys, $180 does not even begin to compensate a lot of these people for the money they've lost in this company. Better than nothing. But honestly, for example, I do have an interview with Tracy Reed on this channel. I have it linked down below. You've probably watched it, but it came out probably almost 4 years ago at this point, so maybe it's worth a rewatch. I rewatched it this morning while I was putting all this together. It still stands up as a good video and a good interview, if I do say so myself. But Tracy, for example, in that interview, she told me that at the time of the interview, I'm not sure where she's at now, but at the time of the interview, she was $200,000 in debt.
Can I ask, did you end up breaking even or making?
No,
Girl, you're
no.
in the hole too?
So I spent, based on my total sales there, I joined in September 2017. I was canceled in February of 2020. 2.5 years. I spent $275,000 on inventory. I bought,
because you bought 100,000 pieces for $3.05. You bought over 100,000.
Oh, I forgot about the sales tax they pre-collected. You're right. So it was about $305,000 I spent. I am negative $200,000 right now. I'm still carrying a loss forward.
Oh my God. That's so much worse than I thought.
Now, she lives in Kentucky. She has nothing to do with this Washington State situation. It doesn't affect her at all. But I say that just because, like, you need to understand that $180 isn't gonna do much for a lot of these people. Anyway, our investigation showed Washingtonians were clearly harmed by paparazzi, Brown said. Advertising too good to be true returns on investments is one of the ways companies and individuals try to deceive Washingtonians. The payment part of a resolution paparazzi signed to avoid a lawsuit over violations of the State Consumer Protection Act and Antipyramid Promotional Scheme Act. Washingtonians who sold paparazzi's products can return to the company any unsold merchandise that they purchased after January 2017 for a full refund. And we'll get into it, but you'll see part of that full refund requires that paparazzi covers the shipping. I don't know if it's the shipping that they had paid to receive the product, but they do have to cover shipping of the pieces back to them in the buyback situation, which is kind of a big deal for multi-level marketing returns, I guess, if you will, because a lot of them don't cover shipping. But, you know, Washington's basically forcing their hand on this one. The binding resolution also requires the company to be more transparent if it wants to keep operating in Washington State. If they want to keep... It's just funny, like, this statement in and of itself is like, hey, paparazzi, like, if you want to operate here, you can. We just ask for a little transparency. And Trent Kirby's like, no, we want to keep being dishonest. That statement alone should be enough for people to be like, I'm not joining that shit. It creates a claims process for refunds for anyone who bought paparazzi jewelry that contains the heavy metals lead and nickel. Paparazzi advertised certain products, including those marketed towards children and youth, as free from both heavy metals. Paparazzi's own testing revealed that some of its products contained lead and nickel. The resolution also reforms how paparazzi can advertise its sales program to include fully disclosing the income sales consultants would likely receive from its sales programs. That's basically the end of what Washington put out. Yeah, some of this is interesting too because, did I mention this? I don't know. I think I did. How paparazzi was found to have pieces that contain nickel and lead, despite the fact that years and years and years of advertising went around on this company's own website even saying everything was lead and nickel free. And then Tracy Reed and Caroline came along and they said, so they went about this using their own funds. I don't think they even crowdsourced any of this. I don't think they took donations or anything. I could be wrong. I might be misremembering because this was 4 years ago or something. But they did send pieces to a third-party lab, have testing come back, and I'll have that live stream linked below also because I was on that live stream with Tracy and Caroline and others where we were all going through the results of the lead testing, and it was shocking. I mean, shocking in the fact that it's like, I guess we all kind of like knew there's no way, like, this stuff is selling for $5. It has to be like containing some shit that we shouldn't be putting on our bodies, you know? But I guess we just didn't know the extent of it. And actually, if you're interested in anything else that's gonna be coming out about this whole situation and anything to do with paparazzi, there is a Facebook group, if you still use Facebook, that Caroline and Tracy Reed run called Crack the Crown. I'll have that linked down below also if you want to join. They have been saying that they have done like a third round of testing that they haven't released yet. They're going to be releasing it with just more evidence of lead and nickel being found in more pieces of jewelry. So yeah, they went years and years and years being like, we're lead and nickel free, until suddenly we found out for sure that they weren't. And from what I remember, they just started taking all of that off the website. There wasn't really much communication. It was just suddenly like people started saying, oh, there's definitely lead and nickel in this jewelry, and instead of like addressing it, they just like silently took it off their websites and stuff, which they had done Man, they're so sneaky, dude. Well, they think they're sneaky. Because, like, when I did my first deep dive on Paparazzi, I don't even remember the circumstance at this point, but I think I was getting up their butts about something they had on their website that was kind of dishonestly painting the business opportunity as, like, I think it said, the website said there's no way to lose or something like that. And then I pointed that out in my deep dive 5 years ago. And right after that, they changed their website to, instead of there's no way to lose or you can't lose or whatever it said, they changed it to what are you waiting for? And it's like, someone's been watching anti-mlm content. They've had a history of doing this, just trying to kind of silently remove shit that they get called out on. So now I want to get into the actual resolution. We're going to read through this, and I just want you to keep in mind that while we're reading through this, almost all of it is stuff that Paparazzi is refusing to change. Washington State said, if you want to continue operating in Washington State, here's the guidelines you have to meet. And after deliberation, of course, Paparazzi has decided not to adhere to any of that they don't have to. Of course, they do have to, offer the buyback situation to Washington residents, but as far as changing all their policies and procedures to stay compliant with Washington State, they're saying, no, I don't want to do that. It's too hard, too much work. We don't want to do it. So if you're a Paparazzi consultant who lives in Washington, sorry. If you want to read along or read all this for yourself, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. It's a lot of lawyer talk, and I tried to reach out to Tracy Reed, and she's busy right now, so I was just like, I just want to make sure I'm getting all the main parts here. So again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a law professional, I may be missing some things, but this is my interpretation of what I read. So we're going to start in section 4 here in the injunctions section. So first of all, it says Paparazzi is prohibited from directly or indirectly promoting the business opportunity to Washington residents or in the state of Washington, citing the state's Antipyramid Promotional Scheme Act, which I'm like, how come this isn't a federal thing? How come not every state has something like this? And of course, obviously everything's up to the states, but I did see a post in the Crack the Crown Facebook group of someone being like, hey, just so you know, I live in Pennsylvania, and since 2020 we've had a similar act. So now I know that people are trying to kind of get Pennsylvania to look into it from the Crack the Crown group, and if they do, that's amazing. See, I think that's what LuLaRoe's thought process was. If they were just like, if Washington can make all these provisions and say we have to change all this stuff, what's stopping any of the other 49 states from doing this to us as well? We might as well just revamp everything so we don't have this problem in the future. Since Paparazzi is refusing to do that, there is still a chance in the future that other states, and the only example I have that I know of that has similar states is apparently Pennsylvania, but I'm sure there are others. It really could come down to Paparazzi being in this situation again with another state. Really, I think what they're doing is a really stupid business decision on their end. I think it's going to cause them more problems down the road, but we love to see it. Bring on the problems, man. By all means, let Paparazzi keep fucking around and finding out, Now, as far as the Anti-Pyramid Promotional Scheme Act in Washington, there were some people that were Paparazzi consultants kind of running around spreading misinformation about this, saying that Washington passed a new law prohibiting MLMs from operating there, when in reality, this Anti-Pyramid Scheme Act actually was enacted in 2006. Now, Paparazzi didn't start operating until 2011. Now, that might be the year they started operating as an MLM. I don't remember. It's not really relevant, but all you need to know is that Paparazzi started operating in the state of Washington long after this law was enacted. So they've been operating essentially against Washington state law the entire time they've been a company, because Washington has had this law for a long time. Okay, next, the resolution gave Paparazzi the option to change their compensation plans, citing several violations that the company's compensation plan contains. Again, we're reading this so you understand that Paparazzi is refusing to change basically any of this. Anything that they don't technically have to change to operate in the rest of the 49 states, they're not changing. They're just ceasing operations in Washington because Washington's telling them they have to change things. So these are some examples of what Washington state is telling Paparazzi they have to change. So to continue operating in Washington state, they cannot require that a consultant makes personal purchases or requiring that they have a team of other consultants making purchases in order to participate in the compensation plan. Paparazzi's compensation plan is all over the place too. They have sales ranks, but then they also have recruiting ranks. They have almost two separate recognition programs, I guess. But in general, like I was saying before, if you want to get commissions from your downline, which is is how basically all of the leaders make a majority of their money. They have a team of consultants beneath them who are regularly making purchases, inventory purchases, and then they're making bonuses off of that. Now, I believe there is a monthly requirement of how much inventory each consultant has to buy in order to qualify for those commissions. I'm going to double check. This might be an old page. This looks like it is a consultant's personal kind of recruiting website that they have all the information you need to know about Paparazzi's compensation plan. It says in order to be an active paparazzi consultant, you need at least 50 PV, which is personal volume, each calendar month. 50 PV translates into 25 pieces. So a paparazzi consultant needs to purchase 25 pieces a month to be called active. Active status is required in order to earn bonuses and commissions on your downline. There are no monthly requirements to be a consultant, but if you're not active, you will not make any commissions on your downline. There's a yearly requirement of 200 PV to remain a paparazzi consultant. Now again, this might be older. They may have changed things since this came out, but this is how I remember it. I remember it being 25 pieces a month. If you're a top leader, that's chump change. So if you're buying 25 pieces of jewelry every single month at $2.75 each, that's $68.75 per month in order to be qualified to collect commissions, bonuses, earnings from your downline. So I think technically, in my opinion, I think that that qualifies under what they're trying to tell paparazzi consultants what they can and can't do. Washington is basically saying you can't require your consultant to make personal purchases in order to be part of the compensation plan, which I think that could get into a gray area because you could argue that part of their compensation plan is the selling of the jewelry. So, you know, if you resell a piece that you bought for $2.75, you resell it for the $5, that's the only price they're allowed to sell almost any of the jewelry at, except for the Z pieces, I think go for like 20 or 25. Regardless, that's a small amount of exceptions, I suppose. But for the most part, you're going to make $2.25 profit. So it's like, yeah, of course you have to buy inventory in order to be able to resell it. Also, they do have an option where you can go to a paparazzi distributor's website, like their own landing page or whatever, and like buy from there. But no one really does that, is my understanding. Like, my understanding is that most people buy jewelry by watching live streams or following people on social media, having them post inventory, and then people being like, I would like that piece of jewelry, please. They almost never actually go onto paparazzi's website and then place an order that way. It's not a thing that happens very often. I'm sure it does happen, but I think ultimately this is just saying like, hey, you guys are forcing your consultants to buy a set number of inventory every single month, and if they don't, then they don't get money from their downline. So I think that would fall under that example there. Okay, next, the starter pack or business startup fee can't be included in commissions received by the upline. That's how I'll put it on the screen here so you can read that paragraph, but this is how I'm interpreting it. It sounds like if a consultant convinces somebody to sign up for Paparazzi as a distributor, Paparazzi cannot then go include the purchase of that starter pack in the sales commission of the Paparazzi consultant who recruited them, if that makes sense. That's how I am understanding that, but I could be wrong. They want Paparazzi to change a requirement that a consultant makes mandatory purchases to qualify for rank or compensation. So this is another thing that like Tracy was telling me about Z-Piece winners. This was discussed in the interview I had with her. But basically, remember how I was saying before, there's kind of like two different ranking systems. So there's like sales ranks, like people who sell the most, which really, it didn't matter how many of those pieces they sold. It just mattered how much inventory you were buying. So you could rise through the ranks of these sales ranks, is what they called them, by just buying the inventory. That's the only way you can get up there. Otherwise, there's the other for like recruiting and stuff. But there are ranks in paparazzi that are solely reliant on how much inventory you're buying. And that is how Tracy ended up $200,000 in debt with paparazzi, but being one of its star members, essentially. She got a Z piece. She was like a paparazzi celebrity, but she was $200,000 in debt. She was one of the top 10 sellers in the company. I believe it's the top 10 for Z pieces, but she was up there in the top, won this Z piece because she was the best seller. Turns out she wasn't really selling most of it. She was just buying a shitload of inventory, and that raised her through the ranks. Unless they've changed that recently, I'm pretty sure that's still a thing that happens. Doesn't matter if you actually sell all the inventory you're buying. Your sales rank just depends on how much you buy and not how much you sell. They also want them to change part of the compensation plan where rank or compensation being attributed to the number of people in a consultant's downline downline, the depth of their downline, a consultant's personal volume, or the purchase volume of their downline. Compensation being tied to, specifically even that last part, the purchase volume of their downline. That's exactly how these people in paparazzi, these leaders, make a shitload of money, because again, they are making all of their bonuses and downline commissions off of what their downline is buying, their purchase volume, not necessarily how much of it they sell. This particular paragraph says, for the avoidance of doubt, products purchased by a consultant from paparazzi at wholesale prices and then resold by the consultant to a customer may be included in compensation calculations upon the second sale. I'm taking this as they are suggesting that paparazzi's compensation plan pays uplines after a piece of jewelry has been sold to a final customer, which is what they're calling the second sale. So the consultant buys inventory from paparazzi, that's the first sale, and then they take it to Facebook Live or wherever they sell their jewelry, sell it for $5 to an outside customer, and that would be the second sale. And I believe that Washington is basically telling paparazzi, like, that has to be the compensation calculation. Like, the way you guys are doing it right now is that it doesn't matter if they sell it or not. They're basically saying, like, this is how you have to do it. And again, this is the same stuff they told LuLaRoe, and LuLaRoe did change it. Paparazzi is just like, no. All right, here's another main point here. I'm just going to read this paragraph verbatim. Defendants shall not allow a prospective participant in Washington to sign any participation agreement, policies and procedures, or any other binding agreement, or pay any consideration, or participate in any training until 7 days after providing the prospective participant with an income disclosure statement and obtaining written confirmation from the prospective participant that they have received and reviewed the income disclosure statement. Defendants shall not communicate with the prospective participant in any manner during the 7-day period, and defendants shall instruct all existing participants in its policies and procedures that existing participants may not contact prospective participants during this 7-day period between review of the income disclosure statement and the prospective participants entering into any agreement with defendants. To simplify this, Washington is saying if you would like to continue operating in our state, there has to be a 7-day waiting period. You have to make sure and receive written confirmation that the person you're trying to recruit has looked over the income disclosure statement and then had 7 days to think about it, and you're not allowed to talk to them. You are not allowed to reach out to them. You're not allowed to be like, so what do you think? You're not allowed to add them to Facebook groups and get them into training. You can't do any of that shit. You have 7 days where you have to let them simmer and stew on that decision without your outside input. Now, is this enforceable? No. You know that they would continue doing this regardless. You know that there are plenty of people who would be like, I want to, well, I say plenty of people, like who the fuck is even signing up for paparazzi anymore at this point? Some really naive people, honestly. But those people would exist where they would be like perusing Facebook Lives and being like, hey, whatever this person's doing looks really fun. And then send them a message and be like, what are you doing? How are you doing it? And they go, here's my sign up link. Here's information about what I do. We can maybe hop on a Zoom call if they're really dedicated. We can schedule a conversation, blah, 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 blah. I'll talk you through everything. And then they immediately sign up. Now, Washington is telling them they need to make it so there is a 7-day waiting period where that kind of thing can't happen. That obviously would throw a wrench in basically any recruiting efforts on paparazzi's end ever again. So, of course, they're just like, no, fuck that, we're not doing that. Then they basically have a whole section about how commissions need to be paid after the inventory is sold to the customer, what to do if a customer pays cash, etc. None of this really applies to paparazzi because it's not currently how the compensation plan works. Because right now the way it works is it doesn't matter if they ever sell the inventory or not. Customers generally don't pay cash for paparazzi. I mean, I guess unless you have booths at a craft sale or something like that, or like a state fair or whatever. I have seen those paparazzi groups at my local state fair before. But right now, commissions being paid after they're actually sold, that doesn't exist in paparazzi right now. That's just not how it works. So in order to comply with this, they would absolutely have to be changing their entire compensation plan, how they pay out bonuses, how they pay out commissions for products and all that stuff, and that's a big change they would have to make. Compensation may not be paid on the basis of purchases made by consultants in the state of Washington, whether for individual use, gifting, or resale, which I think could mean a plethora of different things. This is another thing that was discussed in my interview with Tracy, because according to Tracy, and I will put the clip here so we can all bask in its glory, Tracy said that when she was a paparazzi distributor, Her exact words were 90% of the jewelry she actually sold was being resold to paparazzi distributors, not to outside customers.
The biggest, most admired people there have these huge teams, but also sell jewelry. The thing they don't tell you is you sell all that jewelry to your team members who didn't get it because it got sold out and they couldn't purchase it. In buying, it is nothing but circular purchasing. 90% of the jewelry sold on our live shows by the time I won this necklace were to other consultants.
That makes no sense to me. I don't get that. If you can't sell pieces for less than $5, the consultants are buying them from you at full price?
Yes, because if you sell them for less than full price, we would have been fired.
But then what's the point?
They'll tell you that the point is that they have to keep their inventory fresh and diverse so that they can keep people coming to their shows. So these are like the unicorns to make sure people stop and shop, but they're going to buy the other stuff they got at wholesale. No, they're not. They don't. If you don't like the color brown, you're not going to buy 2 brown bracelets to get a green bracelet. You're not going to do that. If you're there for the green bracelet, you're going to buy the green bracelet and leave, unless you're a consultant. If you're a consultant and you don't have 2 brown bracelets and a green bracelet, you can't make this magical stack that must be the stack, must be the reason I'm so successful. I have to buy both of those bracelets, even if nobody asked for it. I'm going to get 2 brown bracelets and a green bracelet. And that way we'll have what everybody wants. No one will ever have to shop with another consultant because my inventory is so diverse.
Yeah, but you're not making any profit.
None. Zero.
Nope.
So I guess my interpretation of this demand, I guess, is that if you're a consultant with paparazzi and you have your little sale and another paparazzi consultant comes in and buys one of your pieces and then goes and tries to resell it in their shop, compensation wouldn't be paid out. They'd have to pay out sale compensation to the original distributor because like they paid for the inventory and they did sell it to somebody. So maybe it's just saying that like if you're a paparazzi consultant and you buy inventory from another paparazzi consultant and then go resell it, you are not qualified to receive sales compensation for that piece, because then it would be double dipping because paparazzi would have already paid the original consultant for that second sale. Does that make sense? Do you guys know what I'm trying to say? I'm basically saying if you're the consultant who goes and buys paparazzi jewelry from another consultant, you have to resell the jewelry for $5. You bought it for $5, you have to resell it for $5, you make zero profit. That's how it is right now. But as Tracy explained, they don't care that they're not making a profit off of that because it's supposedly to keep your inventory fresh. There's not actually like monetary value there. But this also could mean that Washington is telling paparazzi that, like, again, just another way of restating, like, you can't pay out compensation when inventory is bought. You have to pay it out after it's been sold. So I'm not really sure what it's referring to there. Either way, it would be something that would require transparency from paparazzi in one way or another, and we already know they don't want to do that. So the Washington State Attorney General is also putting out provisions to their policies and procedures that paparazzi would have to adhere to continue operating in the state of Washington. The first one being that they need to have a more cohesive and detailed electronic record of consultant inventory purchases, citing specifically, defendants shall take commercially reasonable steps, including both random and targeted audits, to monitor retail sales in order to ensure that they are genuine sales of products rather than an attempt to manipulate the compensation plan. That's a lot of work. We don't want to make audits. We just want people to buy our inventory and then we don't worry about what happens to it after that. This is basically saying, like, you guys need to make sure that your distributors aren't ripping each other off, basically. That's a lot to ask. They want paparazzi to cross-check all purchases to identify whether or not the retail sale was made to an actual customer or other consultant. This seems to be a way to avoid what I was talking about before, aka they want to avoid paparazzi consultants from being the customers instead of actual outside customers, because we all know in multi-level marketing, the distributors are the customers. And according to Tracy, 90% of her customer base were other consultants. Sure, that leaves another 10% of customers to be like actual outside customers, but that's really not a lot. That's not how any business should operate. So the Attorney General is making this rule, or trying to make this rule, to stop consultants from being able to buy from each other. Because really that is, and it has always been, what I believe to be the biggest part of the scam. scam for me. Because another thing that we all found that was happening at one point or another, and I don't remember if this was in my interview with Tracy or if this was something that happened later, but there was talk that, you know, the top leaders in Paparazzi would get access to new inventory drops before the little guys. So that way they'd be the ones buying up all the inventory, all the new stuff, all the stuff that everyone wanted to get their hands on. They'd buy it up real quick, and then they'd be like, sorry, I bought 200 pieces of this brand new necklace, and sorry if you didn't get to get your hands on a few pieces for your own shops, but hey, if you want to buy them from me, you can resell them in your shop. They're not allowed to resell them for a profit. At that point, they're losing money, but, you know, the consultant gets to get their profit for each one of those sales from their own downline. And the idea is the consultant that bought, you know, a few pieces of the jewelry from their upline, they get to keep their inventory fresh, and then that's going to keep more customers coming to buy the rest of their inventory. That was the idea. Such a fucking scam, in my opinion. Once I found out about that, and that was really how a lot of these top leaders were making a bulk of their sales, I find that to be so slimy and disgusting. And as far as I understand, that's still happening. And so Washington's like, you can't do that here. Of course, that's a huge way that some of these top leaders get paid, allegedly anyway. So cross-checking people's identities to make sure that the people who are actually buying the jewelry from other consultants aren't consultants themselves is a big change they would have to make. They would probably have to hire like an entire new like auditing department, which they're not gonna do that. Don't be silly. Now we get into the inventory buyback program. So Washington wants Paparazzi to implement a full refund policy or an inventory buyback program if a Washington consultant cancels their distributorship with Paparazzi within 60 days of signing up, and this would include shipping and handling fees associated with the return. It would be a 100% refund, which again, like I mentioned earlier, is kind of something that is rare in MLM return lands. I mean, a lot of MLMs don't even have a buyback program. So yep, Washington's like, if you have recruited one of our people in the past 60 days and now they're gonna quit, you gotta buy back all their shit for 100% refund, basically. Now I have some bullet points beneath this. If a consultant makes a written request to have unsold inventory repurchased within a year of the distributor's original purchase, the refund amount must be at least 90% of the original net cost. Now what makes this all so complicated for Paparazzi, and probably another reason, another big reason anyway, why they're like, let's just not comply with any of this, is because again, the upline gets paid when the inventory is purchased, not when it's sold. So if you're a consultant, let's say you buy 100 pieces, the moment you place that order for inventory, 100 pieces of inventory, your upline is getting their bonuses. I mean, they get paid out a certain day every month or something like that, or every week. I don't know what it is with Paparazzi, but they have a set day for payouts, for commission payouts, but that gets added to what they're owed. So in order for this to work, they would have to find a way to basically take those commissions back from the uplines because they had already been paid once that inventory was bought by the downline. The resolution does say that Paparazzi has a right to exclude certain items from the buyback program, like seasonal or discontinued items, for example. But if a consultant does purchase seasonal items or, you know, whatever Paparazzi has deemed to be excluded from the buyback program, there has to be a pop-up on the website informing the consultant that this purchase of theirs does not qualify for stock buyback, and then the consultant has to agree to those terms before proceeding with the purchase. There is no more room for being sneaky in Paparazzi anymore. Washington says if you're gonna be sketchy about shit, you need to at least be transparent about it. You need to warn people that this is what's gonna happen if they buy this stuff and can't resell it. If they buy a Christmas piece and then try to go resell it in August, they're not gonna buy it back from you because it was seasonal. I don't know, that's how I'm looking at it anyway. The Attorney General also demands that Paparazzi create a support email address and a phone number to assist Washington consultants with all this buyback stuff. Again, this would require them hiring new staff, hiring a new department to handle these emails. Allegedly, there's 7,100 of these Paparazzi consultants who are supposed to be getting a $180 check, according to what the Washington State Attorney General posted. I mean, that's supposedly 7,100 people who are going to be emailing and placing phone calls and trying to sell back unsold inventory. That's going to require a new staff. That's going to be a whole new department that Paparazzi would have to make. Unless the consultant confirms in writing that the inventory they're returning is compliant with another section in here that we're going to get to, mainly lead and nickel stuff. So unless the consultant says like, I had these tested, or I tested these myself, or whatever, and these are compliant and can be resold, this is how I'm understanding it anyway. Unless they do that, Paparazzi can't resell any of the inventory that they receive from the buyback program. They're not allowed to redistribute these pieces of jewelry in any way, including gifting and donations. So they couldn't, I don't know, for example, be like, hey, consultants, if you buy 50 pieces of inventory this month, we'll match your pieces that you buy with 50 more pieces, but like they were all pieces that they had originally bought back and they're trying to like recirculate. Like, I think what this is trying to do is like say that they can't do that because of concerns about lead and nickel and stuff like that. Now, a lot of this has been talking about like generally an inventory buyback that would apply to, you know, like the entire company. If you join the company and decide you want to quit 60 days after, you know, there's the whole 100% refund policy. They said that there was another one in here that was up to a year. There's also one specific to the state of Washington, and the Attorney General is demanding that Paparazzi start a one-time buyback inventory repurchase program for Washington residents, both current and former Washington consultants. So people who aren't even Paparazzi consultants right now in this very moment, people who were previously also qualify for this. So this one-time buyback inventory repurchase program would require Paparazzi to allow any of these people who live in Washington to sell any remaining inventory purchased after January 1st, 2017. That is what, 8 years? 8 years worth of inventory. So if you were a consultant back in January of 2017 and you bought 1,000 pieces of jewelry that you never sold, time to pay up, Paparazzi. I mean, if they haven't gotten rid of all of it by now, it's been 8 years. And even when the lead and nickel testing started coming out, there was a push within the Crack the Crown movement, Tracy and Caroline and all that. There was a push to be like, here are ways to, I guess, ethically dispose of this stuff because there were heavy metals. You can't really just like throw it in the garbage. There are correct ways to get rid of this kind of stuff. And I remember there was like a whole movement of how to get, because a lot of people wanted to get rid of their unsold inventory at that point, because some of these people just had thousands of these pieces. They might even have had like an entire room in their house dedicated to just holding all their Paparazzi inventory. And that much heavy metal contained in a small room like that could potentially cause health concerns, cause health issues. Like these heavy metal compounds in that quantity, taking up such a small space in someone's house really could be dangerous. So when people started realizing that there were heavy metals in these pieces of jewelry, there was a big push to be like, how do I get rid of this? Get this out of my house. So there is a possibility that most of these people have already gotten rid of their old unsold inventory. However, there could be a possibility that there are people who still have it. So those people, Paparazzi's gonna have to pay up. And according to this resolution here, these pieces of jewelry in this specific Washington one-time buyback inventory program, they have to basically, what I understand, is take back any of it. Even if it, because like I was saying before, they can choose to exclude seasonal and like discontinued products and stuff. This does not count for that. This is a one-time thing where Washington, both current and former consultants, whatever they have, they can sell it back to Paparazzi, and Paparazzi has to take it for 100% refund. And it says that Paparazzi has to provide prepaid shipping labels to the consultant to ship it back. So they have to cover the shipping on all of that too. There are a few paragraphs, actually like a few pages, going through these requirements on Paparazzi's end. I'm not going to read through all those because it's just kind of boring. But again, I have this whole resolution in the description if you want to go read it for yourself. But yeah, there's a lot of instructions on there of how Paparazzi is supposed to, you know, get this buyback program started and how to operate it and stuff. Now, one thing that Paparazzi has done is they did release, this is a 19-page document, I'll also have linked in the description, of all of their eligible buyback pieces. For whatever reason, this document, Paparazzi's like, yeah, we'll buy them back. I'm just scrolling through and a lot of them are like, they haven't been sold since 2017, 2018, 2021. I'm not seeing really anything more recent than 2022. You can take a look at it. It's interesting. I mean, they've obviously released a lot more pieces of jewelry that aren't these since then, but anyway, they did release this and maybe they'll add more to it eventually. So they are doing an eligible buyback program, and I don't think it's just for Washington state. I think it's company-wide. So this article on the Paparazzi website was posted on March 10th. So yeah, this is brand new, came out after this whole resolution came out on Paparazzi's own website. It says inventory buyback program. An inventory buyback is available to departing consultants in good standing with Paparazzi. To participate in the buyback program, qualified consultants should email returns@paparazziaccessories.com blindsided.com for complete instructions. Please note that the consultant must request a buyback before the consultant's account is canceled. So if they cancel you, you're screwed. Section 9.6 inventory buyback provides this part. A consultant terminating their account may, upon written request, have refunded 90% of the purchase price of all currently marketable accessories purchased within 1 year from the terminating consultant's written request, less any consideration received by the consultant when the consultant bought the accessories. Products shall not be considered currently marketable if returned for repurchase after the accessories commercially reasonable, usable, or shelf life has passed. There's no shelf life on these freaking pieces of jewelry, like what the hell? Or if it's been clearly disclosed to the buyer that the accessories are seasonal, discontinued, or special promotional products that are not subject to the repurchase obligation. All of this is something that was stated in the document. So, okay, and now here's some more bullet points of some things that they would have to change. Again, to, as Washington puts it, maintain transparency in the brand. Paparazzi is basically refusing to do a lot of this. But anyway, according to the resolution here, paparazzi consultants as well as corporate employees aren't allowed to misrepresent the business opportunity or assist others in misrepresenting it, whether by fully stating false representations or even by implying them. Examples include how much money they're likely to make, the amount a consultant has actually made, the amount of time or effort required to make money with paparazzi, saying somebody failed because of their lack of devotion and effort, or saying that they haven't been involved with paparazzi long enough to see success yet. Which this is all, like, the FTC basically says you're not allowed to do any of this. I think a lot of what the anti-MLM movement has done over the past few years, a lot of it is based on finding consultants, not just in paparazzi, but all across the board in the world of MLMs, of people making income claims and just in general misrepresenting what the income opportunity actually is. I think with paparazzi, this would be hard for them to implement because the way it's like shown to you, I guess, is I have this giant house and all this financial freedom and time freedom just because of $5 jewelry. And really the truth of it is the people who have those material things because of the money they receive from paparazzi pretty much does not depend on how much jewelry they've sold. It depends on how many people they've recruited and how much money they're making in bonuses and compensation from the inventory that their downline's purchasing. They're not going to sit there and tell you that when they're trying to recruit you because that sounds yucky and gross. So what this resolution is saying is basically like you cannot misrepresent this at all. And they do. I mean, every MLM does though. This is not just a paparazzi thing. Every single MLM does this. Any representations made when pitching the business opportunity must be non-misleading. All representations made, even non-misleading ones, must be accompanied by an income disclosure statement. Now, this is going to be really hard for them. Well, it would be really hard for them if they were adhering to any of this. Now, they did release an income disclosure statement for the year of 2024. They just put this out a few days ago, and it's hilarious. Now, the backstory with their income disclosure statements would be when I first made my paparazzi deep dive 5.5 years ago, so long ago, they did not have an income disclosure statement, and I called them out for this. And I specifically remember around Christmas time that year, so like it would have been a few months later, because I specifically remember filming this video in front of my Christmas tree, they released an income disclosure statement for the first time. That had never been done until I started calling them out and saying that, you know, I thought that they were being not very transparent, and then I made a video going through their income disclosure statement. Now, this one is interesting because if you look in this document, this resolution that I've been reading from, if you scroll down to the very bottom, there is a draft of this basically stating like, this is what we need from you. This is the information we want to see. And they fucking did it, man. If you go to paparazziaccessories.com and scroll down to the very bottom, the first thing under their little policies tab here is income disclosure statement. And when you click on it, holy shit. It's bad. From Paparazzi's own website themselves, they published this. Paparazzi, U.S. disclosure statement for 2024. 2024 outcomes for participants in Paparazzi. 98.7% lost money for the year of 2024. Almost 99% reportedly lost money. And it says in big red letters here, most paparazzi participants lost money in the year of 2024. Isn't that glorious? It's not even like 50%. This is basically saying like, you basically have a snowball's chance in hell of even being slightly profitable, of even making $1 more than what you spent, of even breaking even. Paparazzi's just out here like, yep, this is the truth, man. Most of y'all are losing money. Less than 1% being 0.6% 26% of all participants in Paparazzi profited $1 to $1,000. Profit from $1,000 to $5,000 for the year is 0.3%, and anything over that is 0.4%. Profit equals money received from Paparazzi plus any additional retail income minus money paid to Paparazzi for the year. Participants lost money if their profit was negative. Yeah, no shit. Financial outcomes. The graph above shows the share of Paparazzi participants who earned a profit or loss in their Paparazzi business in 2024. It includes all individuals who participated in the Paparazzi business opportunity in the US in 2024. So a lot of these income disclosure statements that we see from multi-level marketing companies, a lot of them will be like, these are all the stats from like active participants. And they do that because it kind of bolsters the numbers and makes it look better than they actually are. Apparently this is all of them, and that's pretty much what Washington said they had to do. Retail income. Some participants might have earned income reselling products to retail customers for more than the participant paid for the products. However, Paparazzi does not know if participants in 2024 earned retail income because some of the retail transactions are not tracked. And what's interesting about this too is that I feel like, I don't think it was last year's convention, but it might have been the year before. They were like kind of putting out feelers to kind of create this kind of like retail tracking. And I do remember us anti-paparazzi heads being really excited about that, being like, okay, finally they're trying to track who sells what. And that would be setting the precedent that they would eventually be like, okay, you can't just make money off of what your downline is buying from you. Like, you're going to be making money off of what they sell, not necessarily what they buy. Like, that's what we were all expecting, but it's been at least a year and a half, I think, since that whole thing came out, and they never did anything with it. Like, nothing really ever came of it. I think they did like start an electronic inventory organization thing, but like apparently they never really took it much farther than that, if I'm understanding it correctly. Expenses. The graph above includes money participants paid to Paparazzi for fees, starter kits, product purchases, tickets for conventions or training programs, shipping and handling, and sales aids. Possible additional expenses not represented in the graph above may include, so they're saying like, this might not even be all the money that they lost. They might have even lost even more than this. Additional fees or tickets for conventions or other training programs, travel, lodging, food, childcare, packaging and shipping, purchasing product from other consultants. It's funny that that's even on there. See what I'm saying? Like, it's such a big problem in Paparazzi that like they're even putting it on their income disclosure statement. Is this by choice? Probably not. This is probably because they felt like they needed to. Thanks, Washington. But it's just funny that that's even included on there, because like that is such an unusual thing. Like, we don't even see that in most MLMs. That's a LuLaRoe and Paparazzi thing. Probably other ones that I just can't think of off the top of my head right now, but like, hello, plus other business expenses. Cancellation or refund policy by law. I mean, yeah, by Washington law, I guess. I mean, technically, probably plenty of other states, they just haven't enforced it. But anyway, by law, Paparazzi must buy back all currently marketable inventory purchased within the past year for a refund of no less than 90% of the purchase price if requested by a business opportunity participant. Paparazzi cannot pay less than 90% of the purchase price by subtracting or deducting other amounts, including but not limited to deducting shipping costs, bonuses, or retail income from the refund. That could be a little gray area there as well. Anyway, that's the new income disclosure statement. I think it's hilarious at how insanely bad it is. Not that I'm surprised. I think we all knew this, and we've all been preaching this and yelling it from the mountaintops that like, yup, you pretty much don't have a singular chance in being successful in this particular MLM, let alone any other MLM, Paparazzi specifically. This in and of itself is one of the biggest reasons why I've harped on them so hard in the past few years. It's just such a scam, in my opinion. The entire business opportunity, the compensation plan within Paparazzi is how I believe it to be what I would consider to be a scam. I think if anyone looks at this and goes, you could probably still do it. Girl, you live in Delulu land. If you're a grown up, you can make this decision for yourself, but it's really not a good idea to try to do this. Anyway, let's get back to other shit. Starting in 2026, for the year of 2025, the income disclosure statement shall contain a disclosure regarding the total of retail sales between and among consultants as tracked and disclosed pursuant to paragraph blah, 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 as a percentage of annual total of recorded retail sales. And again, when I interviewed Tracy Reed, she told me that 90% of her sales were made to other consultants consultants and not to outside retail customers. As far as this income disclosure statement situation has gone, it appears as though Paparazzi has complied with Washington's demands on this. So it's going to be interesting to see if in 2026, for this year that we're currently in, 2025, when they come out with the income disclosure statement, if they come out with the income disclosure statement, it'll be interesting to see if they include this. But again, like, they're ending business operations in the state of Washington, so I don't know if they will be required to comply with this specifically because they're not going to be operating there anymore. I don't know. Anyway, another thing, Paparazzi can't market their jewelry to people under the age of 12, and this is likely because of the heavy metal content found within their jewelry, allegedly. Paparazzi has to finally release an inventory tracking system for Washington residents. Again, there have been like feelers out to make something like this happen. They've been kind of prepping people for this, but they haven't actually done it. Now Washington is saying, like, you gotta fucking do this shit. You gotta be able to track who's selling what. Paparazzi and its distributors may not claim any of their products are lead and or nickel free unless they start testing all of their jewelry and verify through independent testing that neither of those compounds are found in the jewelry. Now in 2022, I think there were multiple class action lawsuits, definitely one class action lawsuit, but I think there were multiple brought against Paparazzi because there was third-party testing done by Tracy and Caroline and others that resulted in us all finding out that there were in fact dangerous levels of lead, nickel, and other dangerous compounds. I believe like arsenic might have been in some of it. Was it arsenic? It could have been another metal. I don't know. It could be multiple dangerous metals. I don't remember at this point, but yeah, there were like a lot of them. So they did, like I was saying earlier, they did take the lead and nickel free claims down off of their website a couple years ago when all of this kind of went down. But I mean, I'm sure that didn't stop people from still claiming it was lead and nickel free. I am editing right now and I was just curious to see. I'm editing this part and I'm like, there's no way that these people are being this reckless out here with all of the messaging going on around paparazzi and what they can and can't say. 16 hours ago, we got Teresa's Trinkets doing a paparazzi live. Everything is lead and nickel free. There's also another one from the Glitzy Glamoz. Oh my god, from 17 hours ago. Paparazzi is a lead and nickel free jewelry. Okay, they're all still fucking doing it. So yeah, glad they learned their lesson. Cool. And of course, any instances of these rules being broken by consultants must result in disciplinary action. Paparazzi is no stranger to disciplinary action. It's just they're very picky and choosy about who they discipline and why. For example, Paparazzi ended up canceling Tracy and Caroline, well, it was Tracy's account because they tried to cancel them before because Caroline also had an account and they lived in the same house and they're like, you're not allowed to do that, we're gonna cancel you. And I guess they had their account reinstated, and then they won a cruise through Paparazzi. While they were on the ship, basically there was an older man in a motorized wheelchair. When they docked somewhere off of the ship, he was being denied to be able to leave the ship in his motorized scooter, which would be against the ADA. What is it? American Disabilities Act, or whatever that stands for. Which, fuck it now. All this DEI bullshit, like that, everything's just being gutted, so I wouldn't be surprised if the ADA, if it hasn't already been gutted by now, it's like, oh, well, I guess they could get away with this shit now. But back in the day, when we had common decency in this country, that would be a violation of the ADA. Denying somebody who is disabled, like denying that they're allowed to get off of a cruise ship. Anyway, so Tracy threw a fit about that, a justified fit, her and many others who were appalled at the way they treated this man, and Paparazzi canceled her for that, for being like, you guys know that this is like against the law to be denying this guy this stuff. And they were like, and yeah, they canceled her for that. Even Tracy, being someone who made them so much money by just like buying a shitload of inventory, the moment she went against them, they're like, bye-bye. So they're not against disciplining people, but there are also a lot of their distributors who get away with more than others. So this would basically say no more picking favorites. You guys have to discipline people for doing stuff that we say you're not allowed to do, which obviously would not be good for Paparazzi because they're all about picking favorites. Now, again, according to the resolution, Paparazzi must also, for the next 5 years, provide detailed data reports to the Washington Attorney General to review and ensure that Paparazzi is taking the steps to adhere to Washington's rules as written in this resolution. This is kind of like how Elon Musk Musk just like tried to do the Doge thing to government employees, like, you better send me an email of 5 things you did this week or else you're fired. It's kind of that, except what Washington is telling paparazzi to do is like actually justified. This is with good reason, unlike Doge. But anyway, Washington wants to verify that the following requirements are being met after they agreed to this resolution. They want to verify that paparazzi is collecting and maintaining sales information. They want to verify that paparazzi is ensuring their sales are genuine rather than an attempt to manipulate the compensation plan. And they want proof that these sales happened as they were reported. So I think this is another step to be like, your consultants need to stop fucking buying from each other and just like circulating the money within the pyramid. They want paparazzi to provide data sufficient for the Washington State Attorney General to ensure that paparazzi is complying with these demands. They want data sufficient for the Washington Attorney General to ensure that the income disclosure statement is correct and not being manipulated. Something tells me the new one isn't manipulated. It seems like it's pretty spot on. And then the Attorney General wants written reports summarizing compliance efforts that all distributors are making in order to be in compliance with income claims. These reports must include known instances of a distributor making non-compliant claims, any disciplinary steps taken against the distributor, and how this compliance issue was resolved. You think paparazzi's gonna do that? No. Anytime any consultant did something that they didn't like, they'd just be like, bye-bye, you're gone, you're terminated. Now, Washington is basically saying, like, you have to hold your people accountable and try to fix this shit. I mean, I guess, like, terminating someone's account would be considered disciplinary action, but I think the idea is that there needs to be a correction to these things now. And again, there is plenty of people in paparazzi who get away with breaking all kinds of rules, and paparazzi does nothing to stop them from doing that shit. But if you're not one of their favorites, they'll discipline you for just little shit. Like, I know Tracy was saying, for example, like, if you advertise paparazzi on your social media account, you can't also advertise that you're selling Girl Scout cookies. You can't also advertise like a yard sale or sell on Facebook Marketplace, that kind of stuff. So they're very strict about like little stupid things. And I think what Washington wants them to do is, like, if they're gonna go against your compliance, like, instead of just like terminating them, you need to like educate them and correct them. If you really think that paparazzi is going to go through all of that, and then to like, they'd have to hire new employees to be like a compliance, like, actual department, like an HR department. Do they even have an HR department? Who knows? Probably not. They would have to have something like that where people are trying to take corrective action instead of being authoritarian like they are now. If they are found to break these rules, this resolution gives the Washington Attorney General permission to fine paparazzi with civil penalties up to $125,000 per violation, and the resolution gives the state of Washington power to monitor paparazzi's compliance by sending agents to their facilities to make sure shit's good. But they do assure that if the Washington Attorney General does this, it will be done in good faith. So that's pretty much the summary of what I understand the resolution to have said. Now, as we know, paparazzi is just like, no, we don't want to do any of that. Obviously, they've done some of it. They put out the income disclosure statement and they are starting the buyback program, but they're not changing their compensation plan. They're not creating all these new departments to comply with their demands. They're just saying, you know what? We're just done with the state of Washington. Shall we? Done. Because they don't want to take the fucking effort to go through all of this, because it really would be a lot of effort. And it wouldn't pay off, because all of these changes would mean that basically all of their top leaders wouldn't be making anywhere near the amount of money they're making right now. So they'd all probably leave, which would eventually tank paparazzi's income, which, if I had to guess, I would say has been tanking already in the past few years. That's just speculation. I don't have proof of that, but I can only imagine that their sales and their recruiting efforts have not been as bountiful as they used to be. So anyway, they've been ordered to pay $1.9 million to the Washington State Attorney General, and then I think they will be the ones to go and disperse checks out to the 7,100 Washingtonians, whatever it was called, the $180 checks that on average they would be subject to, which again is not that much money. It's really just a drop in the bucket for a lot of these people, but I mean, I guess it's better than nothing. If they're able to get some of their money back for unsold inventory with their buyback programs, it'll obviously result in more money being returned to them, but it's just been so long that I think a lot of these people just don't even have a lot of that inventory anymore. So yeah, in the end, Paparazzi just decided to kind of be like, fuck it, you know? They have so much integrity. Now, after all this happened, Paparazzi CEO Trent Kirby made a silly video we're gonna watch. He got mad because in the original press release from the Washington Attorney General, I think this is speculation that this is exactly what Trent Kirby is talking about. It would make sense and it all adds up, but thanks to Andrew Thompson, which is someone I mentioned earlier being just fabulous and great, the original press release said, Utah-based jewelry company Paparazzi will pay $1.9 million and reform its business practices in Washington state following an Attorney General office investigation into the company's pyramid scheme. That's what it originally said. That original link has been taken off. If you go and click it, it is gone, and I tried to look at it on the Wayback Machine, and I don't think that it was ever actually snapshotted, so we don't have that, but we do have this old screenshot thanks to Andrew. They took that down and re-released a new one by saying an investigation into the company's alleged pyramid scheme. That's the only difference of it. But Trent Kirby went on a nice little rampage, a nice little tantrum, if you will, and we're gonna watch that right now.
This past Friday, we announced that we will no longer be offering the consultant opportunity in the state of Washington.
He looks so mad.
Since that time, some, online and elsewhere, have been making unfounded statements about why we made this decision. We cooperated with Washington as we analyzed all our options. We have operated 14 years in Washington, but now Washington has asked us to either change everything or else. We have decided to stop offering the business opportunity in the state of Washington. Last night, the Washington State Attorney General's office issued a false statement about our agreement we made, and we are working to correct that. Our products will continue to be sold retail to all of our customers who live in Washington. It was a difficult decision, but one we believe allows for the majority of paparazzi consultants to continue. We have seen the opportunity empower individuals, foster confidence, and strengthen community, and we want this to continue. Now, more than ever, America needs community. As some continue to take away opportunities, we will continue to fight for people and their rights to build a future. That is the answer. Unfortunately, for those critics trying to fabricate a story, it is that simple. Over the past 3.5 years, we have worked with regulators reviewing our product testing and ensuring the quality of our products. After years of analyzing tens of thousands of items and over 100,000 tests, we are confident in the quality of our product. In this review, we came across 183 items containing trace amounts that, although not harmful, the results do not meet our standards that we pride ourselves on. For these 183 items, we have decided to offer a nationwide voluntary buyback if you decide you want to return an item.
Oh, okay, so that's probably, so that list I was showing you guys earlier of the 19 pages of like random products and stuff, that must be what it is. So like all of those products must have been tested and found to be non-compliant. So now they're gonna buy them all back. I think that must be what that list is, if I'm understanding correctly. Anyway, isn't it cute how angry he is? He's pissed. Like, I love seeing Trent Kirby this mad. It's so wonderful. I think it's interesting that he refers to this as a choice. And really, I mean, I guess there was a choice. The choice was to go the LuLaRoe route, which would require a lot of work and probably result in a big loss in revenue for them, which they're already struggling with as it is, a big loss in revenue for the past few years. Every MLM is. When you look at all of their graphs from basically the start of COVID, it's just like a little whoop, and then after mid to late 2021, it starts going down. They all look like this. So we already know that they're dealing with this just like every other MLM is, but if they had to go and change their business operations, change their compensation plan, it would be a much steeper drop off for them. So was there a choice made? Kind of, but ultimately I see it as they didn't really have a choice. Washington basically said do this or else, and that's what Trent said. He just sat up here and he was just like, yep, we made the choice to not comply with them basically. And yeah, I guess it was a choice, but in my opinion, it's the coward's way out. It's the easy way out. They did not want to put the effort into changing fucking anything. And it has resulted in this mantrum, the mantrum that we're seeing coming out of Trent Kirby's face right now. There's a little bit more to this video, actually. We're about halfway through. What else has he got to say?
Our numerous tests from CPSC certified labs have been reviewed by experts who have determined our products pose no harm and are compliant with applicable regulations for adult jewelry. However, to confirm our commitment to you, we have decided to offer this buyback. I want to explain the stringent testing our product goes through so that you can understand how it works.
You do have to understand, though, that allegedly these tests had not happened. He said over the past 3.5 years, and I believe that lines up with the timeline in general. Because, yeah, it was 2022, maybe the end of 2021, I want to say, when Tracy did the first drop of, hey, these pieces have lead or nickel in them. Actually, like Lead Safe Mama, that's a website that tests a lot of different companies, not just MLMs, but just a lot of products for lead and other heavy metals. She had a paparazzi post a few years probably before Tracy came out and said that she found lead, like, because Lead Safe Mama just tests a bunch of stuff, and Paparazzi was one of the companies that she decided to look into before Tracy even started dropping her own testing results. So this has been going on for a long time, but he says over the past 3.5 years they started testing, which means, this is what it says to me, and maybe I could be misinterpreting this, but sounds to me like they hadn't had any testing done until that point, until their backs were against the wall, and they really had no other choice but to look into whether or not their pieces were compliant.
First, our factories deliver tested product that they ensure meets all regulations. Now, we don't just take their word for it. Upon receiving this inventory into our warehouse located in China, we perform a confirmation testing program on every single SKU, where we randomly select product from multiple boxes of each item. This then gets tested to ensure that what they delivered is compliant. We do this independent testing at CPSC certified labs. These are international labs certified by the U.S. federal government for testing consumer products. Our labs that we use are specifically certified for jewelry items and all applicable testing requirements. Now, there are some who created a narrative about our product's quality. They continue to post bogus reports from Waypoint Analytical. Waypoint is an agricultural testing firm that is not approved by CPSC. They are not accredited with CPSC and appear to have no experience testing consumer products, especially jewelry, nor do they appear to have knowledge of any applicable regulatory standards for jewelry.
If you are a lab that tests anything, how hard is it to have a device that tests anything for heavy metals? Yeah, I don't know. I think when he's talking about this, he is referring to like Tracy and all the testing and stuff. The other thing is too, that I mentioned before, is that there have been class action lawsuits against this. So it's not just Tracy who has provided these testing results. This has gone on long enough, starting in 2022, and it's 2025 now. So yeah, about 3 years. Like, sounds to me like the reason they have these like new testing standards, like I think they are new. I don't know. Maybe this shit was going on before, but the way he said it sounds like for the past 3.5 years they've been testing, but up until that point they hadn't been. They had just been, like he said, we're not just taking their word for it. I think you were for a while, up until you had your backs pressed against the wall. So don't get me wrong, it's good that they're supposedly testing these things, but as far as consumer awareness goes, what Tracy and others have done to kind of expose the quality of Paparazzi's products, at least, you know, in the past, not saying now, because I don't know if it's gotten any better or not, but it sounds to me like it was really important for those test results to come out because of consumer awareness. And if there wasn't any validity to it, why are you now complying? If there was nothing to worry about before, why would you take these extra steps to make sure that you're doing all this independent third-party testing? They didn't feel the need to do it before, then why are you doing it now? If everything has always been fine and dandy, I don't think it has been. So yeah, we're almost done here. I just really, really loved watching his facial expressions. He's so mad and I love it so much. Sometimes he does this little like eyebrow raise and I'm like, he's pissed. He probably stomped off this set so fast.
These bogus tests reflect the accuracy and intelligence of those touting them. Ensuring the quality of our product comes at an enormous cost to us. Having this testing allows us to grow confidently into the future. No item is ever loaded onto a shipping container to come to the United States without proven tests validating its quality.
Now, though,
We are grateful to have this lengthy quality analysis behind us, and we are excited to continue offering high-quality products at an extremely affordable price.
another interesting thing is that they limited comments on that post. There are comments on that post, but those must have been left before they decided to limit comments, because now you can't go comment on it. I have a few screenshots of shocked distributors reacting and also spreading misinformation. These screenshots were posted in Crack the Crown. I guess here's a team leader of something called the Sunshine Squad. They write, "Who is affected by the ban in Washington State? If you are and want to fight it with the state, please fill out my postable." I don't know what that is. I mean, you can fight this all you want. Nothing's gonna happen. You guys will not win this fight. This is not a fight you will win. The Washington State Attorney General has a pretty good track record so far of getting their way with multi-level marketing companies and other companies that they perceive to be a schmieramid schmeem. But this person continues. They say, "I am an elite consultant, 5-year diamond seller, and 1-year gold. I have a team of nearly 300 in Washington State. If you're anything like me, this company has kept me sane and food on the table, gas in the car, and money in savings. I eat, sleep, and breathe paparazzi. Pretty sure my blood is pink too." Your blood might also be infected with heavy metals. You should probably get that tested. That statement right there is exactly the kind of shit that Washington doesn't want you to be making. And it's the same shit that paparazzi is just like, we're not going to hold people accountable for saying stuff like that. You have a misleading income claim. When you have 98.7% of people in paparazzi in the year of 2024 losing money, and that is attributed to an income disclosure statement that paparazzi published themselves, to then go and say this company helped their mental health, keeping them sane. This $5 jewelry kept me sane. I'm sure it didn't. But to also be like, it paid for food, put gas in my car, I have extra spending money, there's money in my savings account because of paparazzi. That kind of shit is exactly what got you in this place in the first place. And you're out here just like, we're gonna fight this, and then you go and do the same shit that they're trying to keep you from doing. Like, these people don't get it. Cults are gonna cult, though. After your last name, put WA, so I know that you're interested. Comment below that you filled it out. I started with this, just 2 small boards on a wall and no expectations nor experience in selling. Are you trying to recruit people? Bitch, you're being affected by, let's say I have a team of nearly 300 in Washington State. I don't know if this lady is also in Washington State, but if she's losing 300 downline members in Washington, literally what she's doing right now is what got them into this in the first place. Like, what, you're really gonna sit here and try to recruit still? I was shy, I was closed off, lonely, I felt like I didn't belong anywhere, and now I have a huge inventory plus a 10x5 storage with overflow for exclusives and Z collections, friends that became family, a sense of self-worth. Oh, you didn't have self-worth before paparazzi? Get the fuck out of here. A steady income. Okay, that's another income claim. Like, fucking prove it. Also, 98.7%. Do we need to keep harping on that? Yeah, I think we do. Income to support my kids, and a place in this crazy ride we call life. Hey, guess what? If you're here right now reading that post and watching this video, you do have a place in this crazy ride that we call life. We all do. And it's not thanks to paparazzi. It's thanks to being born. You can thank your parents for a place on this crazy ride that we call life. Like, what are you even talking about? So there's a comment on this post that says, "I think that it's been quite a shock for all of us here in Washington. Never thought it would actually become an actual law to be actually prohibited in our state." Okay, again, so this is where a lot of the misinformation comes from. Washington State did not just pass a law. This has been law since 2006, and you guys have been operating this way since you started. The Attorney General, the FTC, and all that, like, they have to take the time to do investigations in order to make stuff like this happen. It's not just a quick overnight thing. They have to have a case built. They have to have probable cause to be like, okay, this is something that we can shut down in our state. It meets all of these requirements and we have a law in place. I mean, it is a law, but it's not like some new law that suddenly they're like, nope, this is the anti-paparazzi law. Nope. Like, do you people not even pay attention? Everyone in their fucking moms has watched LuLaRoe, okay? We all know how how that went down with the same Washington State Attorney General that had LuLaRoe by the balls. Same thing with Paparazzi now. The only difference is that Paparazzi doesn't want to fucking deal with it. They don't want to deal with having to be transparent about this stuff. So they're just cowering away and like fucking over 7,100 people. Well, I say fucking over, but ultimately they're probably saving all of those people a lifetime of more debt that they're putting themselves into, in my opinion. But anyway, Paparazzi Accessories has been so understanding through this ordeal by giving us at least 1 month till we're officially canceled and 1 year to buy back our inventory. They have to. It's not their choice to be so understanding and so gracious. Wow, no, it's because they're being forced to. I'm sure if it was up to them, it would be like too bad, too sad. Like if no one was telling them they had to do that shit, they wouldn't be spending the extra money to have this buyback program. They would not be doing it. You fucking people are so brainwashed. It's insane. Unfortunately, I'm sure many consultants had to find out the hard way since answers weren't necessarily given by the care team via telephone or by compliance via email, other than basically, we're sorry, but thank you for your time, Paparazzi. I'm worried for others in MLM as well as ours who ultimately lose their potential income because of this new law. It's not a new law. They just decided that after LuLaRoe went down, they realized that you, Paparazzi, were operating in the same exact fucking way. And they're like, all right, Paparazzi's next. And now that Paparazzi isn't going to be operating in Washington anymore, Washington clearly isn't fucking around, so other MLMs better watch out because I'm sure they'll open up some new investigations. This person says, I can imagine how the OP is feeling. She's been a huge inspiration for me within the last 5 years I've been with Paparazzi. My 6-year anniversary will be March 14th. It's all just heartbreaking. I have nothing against Paparazzi. I know they can't do anything about it. Yeah, they can. They could have. Literally, Trent said he was making a choice to stop doing this. So how I see it is it wasn't really a choice. They were one of two options and one was way harder than the other, so they took the easy way out. But to be like, they didn't have a choice in this. I mean, technically they did. They really could have revamped shit so that they could continue operating Washington, but they didn't want to do that. So they're just letting you fall off. That's kind of shitty. Now, the thing is like I was saying before, making those changes would ultimately affect their revenue, which is already falling. So, I mean, I'm assuming it is, but they were stuck between a rock and a hard place on this one for sure. And if I were a Paparazzi consultant, just having the rug pulled out from underneath me, instead of Paparazzi trying to say, okay, yeah, we'll go ahead and try to make these changes so that our Washington people aren't affected too bad. They didn't do that. This person says, please, someone help me understand. I got the email, but I don't see a reason. Why is Paparazzi not allowed in Washington State anymore? This person, oh, Mandy. I don't know. I remember that name. I know that's a very awarded name in Paparazzi land. Anyway, Mandy Heinch said, compliance can give you likely a better answer than I can, and much less emotionally charged response for sure. At the end of the day, the state isn't happy with the structure of MLMs, and Paparazzi had to make a decision based on the state of Washington's decisions. It's so sad, and we're devastated for that news. They're fine with the product, so anyone can still sell Paparazzi to customers in Washington. It's not that. It's the business plan they don't like. Here's another post. Caroline posted this in Crack the Crown as well. This post says, ladies, I have some horrible news that I literally just found out today. It took me some time to verify the information, but unfortunately it is true. As of March 31st, 2025, Paparazzi will be canceling all consultants in Washington State, and this means that after this date, I will no longer have access to the jewelry other than at the rate you have at $5. I have enjoyed interacting with each and every one of you. I'm very sad that I do not have the opportunity or even given the choice to continue, but I have enjoyed being your consultant. You know what? I bet all these, at least a majority of these people are gonna join Bomb Party. Just watch. Just fucking wait for it, dude. They're gonna start selling the bath bomb jewelry, the boiled jewelry, you know? Mark my words. All right, this person says, it is confirmed with no additional information being released. I feel like we deserve to know why after being loyal, for me, almost 8 years. Take that up with Paparazzi, dude. Like, yeah, I mean, really, you do deserve to know why, but like their silence is deafening in this situation. Really, you could find this information if you just like looked it up for just a second, but it should not be hard for them to find this though, because Paparazzi really should have provided them with all the information in that email. Anyway, it's a state law from what I understand, but you can email Corp to ask questions. I asked on the phone and she said they weren't releasing any other information. I kind of looked online and didn't see anything. So does this mean no MLMs in Washington, or do you know? Do you have a link showing a law change? No law change, just the same law that's been active in Washington for almost 20 years. It doesn't mean no MLMs in Washington. They're trying to avoid schmearmid schmeems in Washington. That's why you guys are caught up in this shit. But anyway, Paparazzi is canceling all consultants in Washington State as of March 31st, 2025. We will still sell our inventory, however. This sucks. Thank you for all your support. Well, yeah, they're saying they're gonna sell their inventory. I mean, just do the buyback thing. YouTube for whatever you can, you know? You have that opportunity at least. Oh my god, everybody, just found out that Paparazzi Accessories is pulling out of Washington State. That means I will no longer be a paparazzi consultant. So I will having going out of business sales. I will keep you posted. So yeah, they're being blindsided. They didn't know what the hell was going on. The last thing I want to watch, this is a video that Trent posted on March 7th. And I do just want to watch this because he's really making non-transparently inferences to like what to do in these times where the unexpected happens, basically. I just think his analogies are not well timed, because what we're gonna see here is that Trent is about to compare being prepared for the unexpected with airplanes. And if we've all been watching the news here in good old USA, planes have just been falling out of the sky non-stop. So this is not really the best comparison you could be making right now, Trent. Yeah, it's funny. He's trying to bring some energy back into it. He's trying to be motivational to the people who are still sticking around with paparazzi. It's a sad attempt at saving a little bit of face here.
Hello, paparazzi. Welcome to March. We're excited for spring. We're excited for the new jewelry that was debuted back in February at EMP. I know you're just as excited. And one of the things that I wanted to share with you as we start another month is actually my message that I shared at EMP, a portion of my message. In EMP, I talked about an experience that I had flying an airplane. And one of the most important lessons that I learned as that plane failed to do what it was supposed to do is that you must be prepared. That survival starts before the crash. And one of the most important things in business is you have to be prepared for whatever might come your way. This could be on a live, this could be with inventory, this could be with team members, this could be with your family. To have a plan of what to do in the case of an unexpected circumstance. In aviation, we have checklists.
I'm sorry, Trent, you're gonna sit here and try to play the whole like aviation expert. Weird analogy, but go on.
That we go through and we check to make sure that the plane is ready, that everything looks like it's ready to go. And then there are additional checklists just in case something may not happen right. You plan for perfection, you prepare for the unimaginable. You see, on an airplane when you go, they sit there and they talk through how to fasten your seatbelt. If there's cabin pressurization problems, oxygen masks will fall. What to do in case we land in the water. Now, they don't plan on doing any of these things, but they make sure you're prepared. In your business, are you prepared for what might happen in a live so that you can continue to execute and survive the night and have the outcome that you want? There are so many things that we know could happen, but too often we fail to prepare for what we are going to do if they happen.
Is he suggesting that they were entirely unprepared for this Washington State Attorney General investigation? Because, like, really, if they had just been listening to, for example, when I made my first deep dive about paparazzi over 5 years ago, I know they listened to some of it because they changed their website immediately after my deep dive came out. I know they listened to some of it when just a few months after they finally came out with their very first income disclosure statement, but they appear to be very selective about the things that they are preparing for. They've had years and years and years at this point, like he said, 3.5 years doing rigorous testing. He's had plenty of time to prepare themselves for an investigation like this. And I don't even know when the Washington State investigation started. It probably started around the same time as those class action lawsuits and stuff, because a lot of stuff was kind of imploding on paparazzi at that point. But like, they've had years to make changes to the compensation plan to avoid any of this from happening. And when shit hits the fan, or when the plane starts going down, they're like, we're gonna run away from all of these demands that Washington's making of us because we just weren't prepared to make any of them. It doesn't sound like you were preparing for any kind of downfall at all. But now the aviation expert Trent Kirby's gonna sit up here and tell us all about how to prepare for the unexpected, when really this should have been expected. If you were listening at all, this shouldn't have been such a big change when it happened. I think he's trying to save face. That's just my opinion.
This spring, this year, as you launch into the spring jewelry and into the end of the paparazzi calendar year, striving to hit your goals, what I will ask you to do or encourage you to do is make these checklists for your business. Every live that you go live, make sure that your camera is ready. It's clean. Make sure your lighting is right. Make sure the sound is checked. Make sure that your inventory is ready. When you go to order, make sure that your internet's ready. Make sure that everything that you need in order to execute perfectly is ready.
Are they not doing this? Like, that's like bare minimum of how to operate your paparazzi bling biz. Like, you think this is new information? You think that when your consultants go live, all of them are just willy-nilly just throwing jewelry at the camera and seeing what sticks? You don't think that they're trying to organize things? Like, what are you talking about, Trent? You're trying to apply your missteps as the CEO of the company, who clearly was not prepared for any of this that's going on right now, and he's trying to kind of stick it on his constituents, just being like, hey guys, sometimes shit happens and we gotta be prepared. Yeah, take your own advice. And honestly, I'm gonna say this right now, just like I was saying earlier, like Pennsylvania apparently has, you know, like an anti-Schmiermid Schmiem law or whatever, and they haven't looked into or shut down paparazzi yet, but given the fact that you're just deciding not to change anything and just being like, we're just not gonna operate there anymore. Here's another prediction, and I'm sorry, but like, I'm wrong about a lot of things, but with MLMs, I'm almost always right. I don't think this is gonna be the end of their problems. You could take this time, Trent Kirby, to redo your compensation plan, redo all the structures, look into all the individual states and what they would desire from you and what they could really have you shut down for, and make those changes. But is he gonna do it? I don't think so. I think he's too fucking proud to change any of this, really, like to the extent that it needs to be changed so that he could not face these kinds of speed bumps ever again. I think that if he does not take steps to fix things now so that in the future when Pennsylvania or some other state starts investigating them, you can't just like shut down one state after another until suddenly you can't operate in this entire country anymore 50 states later. What are you going to do to prepare yourself for that? Because I really think that this isn't the end here. I think you're going to have more problems down the road.
Things might happen. They always do. More importantly than anything, what I can promise you is, if you are prepared, you have the greatest chance of survival.
One final thing I forgot to mention while I was filming, guys. Sorry to do this to you, but Paparazzi did send Tracy and Caroline a cease and desist letter. Tracy gave me permission to share it in this video, so it's on the screen here. It's ridiculous to me, honestly, and I'm sure it's even more ridiculous to Tracy because, you know, she's an actual attorney. So instead of reading the whole thing here, I'm just going to put the pictures on the screen. You can pause and read it if you want, but in summary, Paparazzi's mad that Tracy and Caroline apparently posted a video, which I cannot find. The letter suggests that it was like on their Facebook, but I looked through all of their profiles and groups and stuff that I have access to and I didn't see it, so maybe they deleted it after they received this letter. But in the video, they apparently said that Paparazzi was a Schmiermid Schmiem, except they didn't say it that way. They said the actual words. They also said it was in their opinion. Now, the attorney who wrote this suggests that saying "in my opinion" isn't good enough, and the reason that they give for it seems like a cop-out, but what do I know? I'm not a lawyer. I'm a stupid dumb head woman, and you should never listen to anything I say ever. But they basically said saying it's your opinion is basically suggesting that you know of actual facts that have led you to hold that opinion, which would be impossible because Paparazzi is definitely not a Schmiermid Schmiem, if I'm interpreting that lawyer speak correctly. Again, I'm stupid. Don't listen to me. Read it for yourself. It's on the screen. Aside from the Schmiermid Schmiem stuff, they're mad that one of the labs Tracy and Caroline used to do their testing was apparently not an accredited consumer product testing lab. Now, I do know that after all the backlash from Paparazzi distributors that the first lab faced when those testing results came out, and we're talking like harassing the lab with excessive phone calls from angry consultants, the lab refused to work with Tracy again. So I do know that they have worked with other labs, and there are also lab results in the Crack the Crown Facebook group that that are not by Waypoint. So I don't know, man. The test results weren't fake, so I don't see the point of them harping on this at all. And then the letter demands that they delete this specific video, which looks like they did, and to basically stop talking about us because every word that comes out of your mouth is defamation. What? Now, Tracy informed me that Kentucky did recently pass some anti-slap laws, so hopefully if Paparazzi tries something with them, they'll be shut down pretty quick in court. That, and Tracy isn't stupid. Like I said, she's an attorney herself. She's not stupid enough to actually say something that could stand up to a defamation accusation in court. And like most cease and desist letters, I do personally happen to believe that this letter is most likely just a scare tactic. Of course, after seeing what happened with Hannah Alonso and Melaleuca, you never know. So let's all just collectively send good vibes towards Tracy and Caroline right now, because they have been through enough at the hands of this damn company. So that's pretty much all I got for now, which was a lot. It was actually a lot more than I thought it was gonna be. But anyway, guys, that's where we're gonna end it here. If you're still here, I appreciate you listening to all of that. I know it's all very interesting, and I know a lot of you guys are here watching because you found me through all of the paparazzi bullshittery a few years ago. So I'm glad that you're back and still paying attention to all of this. But while I thanked you for, just being here, I do have a few more thank yous to dish out here. First of all, thank you to Factor for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget, Factor75.com. Use the code 50 Savannah Marie, get 50% off and free shipping on your first Factor box by using that code. Factor75.com. Code 50 Savannah Marie, 50% off, free shipping. Do the thing. All right, you're gonna love Factor. They're wonderful. So try them out. Thank you. It helps the channel. It helps me grow and be able to continue to cover this stuff for you. So thank you for that. Now, I would also like to thank my patrons and my members, you guys. The list of names I'm about to read off are my financial supporters. They get access to things like our private Discord server. We have a postcard club, early access to videos sometimes whenever I'm able to get that out to you guys, and even more than that. So if any of that sounds good to you, you can go to patreon.com/Savannah Marie, or you can click the join button beneath this video to be part of my YouTube memberships. They're generally the same, so whatever platform works for you works for me just fine. So with that, the biggest thank you in the whole wide world goes to Hula Chowdown, Jacqueline Nutton, Kessie Drew, KJ Barnes, Leanne, Marie Silver, Caroline Reed, Daniel Urena, Maddie Darley, Ray, Stephanie Mayfield, AJC, Liz Sahu, Charcity Gaming, Evan Adler, Kelsey Nicole, Cassosities, LaSalle Story, Fuffy Duck Butt 24, Elaine, Ferd Turgeson Esquire, Love to Be Evil, Just Mark, Baby Pink Pearl, Alice Wagner, Fallon Harris, Jessica Billhart, and Emion. And to the rest of my financial supporters, thank you so much for being here and being you. Even if you're not a financial supporter, thanks for making it to the end of this video. Like I was saying, it just really helps me out that you're just here in general. Sharing all this content, liking, subscribing, all those things help as well. So with that, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.